Amid the dazzling glamour of the 2026 Blue Dragon Series Awards, the most unforgettable moment of the night did not come from the spotlight, the prestigious trophies, or even the emotional acceptance speeches. Instead, it was a simple gesture, Hyun gently placing his hand on Jin Seon Kyu's shoulder as the actor broke down in tears while watching his wife, Bo Kyung, receive a major award. The moment lasted only a few seconds. There was no script, no grand performance, and certainly no intention of drawing attention. Yet its authenticity transformed it into one of the most shared and talked about scenes across social media. Behind that quiet gesture lay a powerful story about empathy, family, sacrifice, and the invisible bond between men who truly understand the meaning of love. A trophy that represented more than professional success. When Bo Kyung's name was announced as the winner of the Best Supporting Actress award, the audience erupted into applause. However, the person most overwhelmed with emotion was not the actress walking toward the stage, it was her husband, actor Jin Seon Kyu. Television cameras captured him struggling to hold back tears, his eyes filled with emotion as he watched his wife finally receive the recognition she had waited years for. These were not simply tears of pride. They reflected nearly a decade of witnessing the woman he loved sacrifice her own dreams for the sake of their family. Sitting nearby, Hyun quietly reached over, gently patted Jin Seon Kyu on the shoulder, and smiled in congratulations. There was nothing theatrical about the gesture. He wasn't performing for the cameras. His instinctive act of kindness made viewers feel that his emotions were entirely genuine. Many online comments suggested that Hyun was doing far more than congratulating a fellow actor. In that moment, one husband was silently sharing another husband's happiness. Why Hyun understood better than anyone else. Perhaps it was no coincidence that Hyun was the first person to comfort Jin Seon Kyu. The Crash Landing on You star has experienced a remarkably similar chapter in his own marriage. His wife, Son Ye Jin, one of Korea's most celebrated actresses, also stepped away from the spotlight to focus on raising their young son and building a stable family life. In the Korean entertainment industry, where careers move at lightning speed and public attention quickly shifts, taking several years away from acting is an enormous sacrifice for any actress, especially someone at the height of her fame. Only someone who has witnessed that sacrifice firsthand can truly understand its weight. Therefore, when Hyun saw Jin Seon Kyu crying over Bo Kyung's successful comeback, he was, in many ways, looking at a reflection of his own family's journey. It was not simply empathy between two famous actors. It was empathy between two husbands who fully understood that behind every successful man often stands a woman who quietly gave up part of her own dreams. A love story more beautiful than any television drama. Few viewers watching the ceremony realized the extraordinary journey behind Jin Seon Kyu's tears. The couple first met while performing together in a musical theater troupe. At the time, neither had achieved recognition, and both struggled financially while chasing their dreams. Life became so difficult that Jin Seon Kyu once visited a bank hoping to secure a small loan just to survive. His application was rejected. Heartbroken and defeated, he returned home expecting nothing but more disappointment. Instead, he discovered something that would remain with him forever. Without telling him, Bo Kyung had quietly sold her treasured gold necklace, the most valuable possession they owned, to buy rice and food for their family. She never complained. She never blamed their circumstances. She simply chose to protect her family while encouraging her husband to continue pursuing his dream. That silent act of love became the greatest source of strength in Jin Seon Kyu's life. It convinced him that giving up was no longer an option. Success finally rewarded years of perseverance. Years later, perseverance paid off. Jin Seon Kyu became one of Korea's most respected character actors, winning Best Supporting Actor at the Blue Dragon Awards and earning widespread acclaim through blockbuster hits including The Outlaws and Extreme Job. Ironically, just as his career reached new heights, Bo Kyung made another extraordinary sacrifice. She voluntarily stepped away from acting for 8 years to devote herself entirely to raising their children and supporting her husband's flourishing career. During those years, her name gradually disappeared from casting lists, television screens, and entertainment headlines. Yet she never disappeared from the heart of the man who never forgot what she had given up for their family. Beginning again from zero. Once their children had grown older, Bo Kyung decided it was finally time to return. She refused to rely on her husband's fame. She declined to use his industry connections. She insisted on attending auditions alone, standing in line alongside aspiring young actors as if she were a complete newcomer. It was a decision rooted in confidence rather than pride. She wanted every opportunity to be earned through talent, not reputation. That determination ultimately won over critics and audiences alike. Her Blue Dragon trophy was far more than recognition for one outstanding performance. It symbolized 8 years of sacrifice, patience, resilience, and unwavering belief in herself. The acceptance speech that moved millions. During her acceptance speech, Bo Kyung shared a deeply personal memory. She revealed that she and Jin Seon Kyu had lost the engagement ring they once treasured, and as a result, they no longer wore matching wedding rings. Then, holding her Blue Dragon trophy, she smiled warmly at her husband and said, "Since we lost our engagement ring, we haven't worn matching rings anymore. But now we each have 2 trophies that look exactly the same. Honey, let's count today as our first day together once again." The auditorium fell silent. It was not simply a romantic statement. It was a declaration that love is not measured by jewelry or material possessions, but by choosing one another again and again through every stage of life. Why Hyunbin's gesture resonated around the world. The reason Hyunbin's brief gesture captivated millions had little to do with celebrity status. Its emotional impact came from what it represented. It celebrated gratitude. It honored sacrifice. It reminded audiences that genuine masculinity is expressed not through power or success, but through recognizing the quiet strength of the women who stand beside us. Viewers no longer saw 2 famous actors. They saw 2 husbands. One weeping because the woman who had supported him for years was finally receiving the recognition she deserved. The other silently acknowledging that he completely understood those emotions because he had witnessed a similar sacrifice in his own marriage. The 2026 Blue Dragon Series Awards ultimately became more than a celebration of outstanding performances. They unexpectedly became a celebration of lasting love, mutual respect, and emotional maturity. At a time when headlines are often dominated by celebrity divorces, scandals, and broken relationships, this fleeting exchange between Hyunbin and Jin Seon Kyu reminded millions that enduring marriages are still possible. They are not built on fairy tale promises or glamorous appearances. They are built on gratitude, loyalty, sacrifice, and the ability to recognize each other's silent contributions. Perhaps that is why a gentle pat on the shoulder, a gesture lasting only a few seconds, became the defining image of this year's Blue Dragon Awards. It was never just about Hyunbin, Jin Seon Kyu, or Bo Kyung. It was a timeless reminder that behind every remarkable success stands someone who quietly believed, sacrificed, and never stopped loving.